Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final in the Wombat Invitational. Going to try a couple new things with videos here, so let me know in the comments if you like it. Try a couple different things with the probe map here. This is the finals between Grant, who drew the side of the Rebels, and Cookie, who drew the side of the Empire. So Grant decides to deploy in Bothui here. I believe his starting objective is Crippling Blow. Got a bit of a challenge here since the map is covering that. You can see here with loyalties, both Bothui and Ryloth cannot be subjugated turn 1. So it'll be interesting to see what Cookie draws here for starting missions. He's got Track Them and Vader's card for captures. We're going to have R2 and False Orders available as well. I'm not going to tell you offhand where the Rebel base is, so we'll keep that a little bit of a mystery. You can see Cookie does a pretty standard Cookie deployment here. 5 ties, a Death Star, and a Stormtrooper in Coruscant. I don't usually like to do that because I get nervous that the Rebels are going to drop and put things on Coruscant, but maybe that's a thing. You can also see we've got a loyal Imperial Corellia for a Star Destroyer here. So Leia stays back to block, and then we've got Tarkin on R&D, it looks like here. And False Orders is used right away to free up that R&D slot, which makes Corellia ripe for a sabotage. We're going to start off with an infiltrate. And after infiltrating, sorry I didn't mouse over those objectives there. I don't actually know which ones they are at this point. After an infiltrate, Empire will do the logical step, which is to subjugate Naboo. Try to limit some rebel production there. Grant is also on Build Alliance and a sabotage here. So Build Alliance out in Utapau. Now the risk with that, and here's the challenge in not deploying there. Rebels roll 1, Empire rolls 2 with a block, and then prevents the Mon Cal and the Nebulon from being built. So that's one of the downsides to not deploying in Utapau. Now, he could have dropped Leia there to kind of hedge his bets. Instead, what he's doing is dropping Leia in Corellia to hedge his bets on the sabotage. So that may or may not have been his original intention. I don't know, but with no Mon Cals going on the queue, he has to prevent a Star Destroyer from being built here. And that's what he does. Cookie knew that was coming, so he ended up grabbing 2 assault carriers, one in Toydaria, one in Ord. Now he's in Toydaria. It's interesting that he didn't move the Star Destroyer out there. He's got the assault carrier, which to me seems a little bit exposed. You can fly that Y-wing in there, get rid of that assault carrier and strand those Imperial units there, but we'll see what happens here. Okay, so a couple of probes get drawn. You can see in the probe map, I'll update things as the Empire changes what's going on. So he draws Alderaan, and he draws Felucia. So where could the Rebel base be? You know, Ryloth, Tatooine, Nal Hutta, maybe, Mon Cal, maybe if he was setting up a trap. Dantooine, Yavin, or really anywhere. Hoth, Endor, maybe Ilum. So Cookie's deploying here, trying to spread out what, where he's planning on moving his guys to. Again, I'm a big fan of if you don't have anything active to do with the stormtroopers you're deploying, I like to keep some on queue number 2. Now, he does have 1 and an AT-AT coming out, so he's probably in okay shape there. Sometimes as Empire, you end up deploying everything, and then when turn 2 comes down, you have an assault carrier, but you don't have a stormtrooper to drop along with it. All right, the Rebels grab Lando, and right away moves them off of Naboo, which weakens the Empire's ability to kind of move around in the northeast quadrant over there. Is that north? I'm going to go with that's north. Not sure that's how directions work in space, but we're going to stick with it. Okay, so 3 Rebels down plus Lando already used up independent operation. We've got Jabba the Hutt in town with his +1 leader card. All right, so here we go with Rebels. Starting with an attack to wipe that assault carrier. Now, he didn't come in with just one Y-wing. He came in with full boat here. So we got a full-blown battle heading up here. And for whatever reason, I don't know what I'm doing with the camera on here, so we'll just kind of have to extrapolate what's going on. The Empire has 3 TIE fighters, or 4 I think 3 TIE fighters, and an assault carrier. Rebels have a Y-wing, a Corvette, and then he plays the Corvette card to cancel. The assault carrier card is played to deploy a TIE fighter and also to block a hit from the Corvette. And then the transport card is here too. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right play or not. I'm not a very good Rebel player, to the truth be told. I may have maybe flown the Y-wing in first and just bombed the assault carrier, and then maybe sent a separate leader afterwards if you did want to try to take out the ATSTs there. But I don't know. We'll see. All right. So we got ATST down with tow cables. We got Snowspeeder down. The goal here is to score Crippling Blow, which is his starting objective. The probe map will go away here eventually. I realize that there's some value to showing objectives too as we do this, but he is trying to score Crippling Blow right now is the goal. So, it does make some sense. Maybe, I don't know what the right move is. I think maybe if you fly in with the Y-wing, bomb the assault carrier, then come in with the transport and Corvette, and then cancel the TIE fighter card that they probably play next. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know. Who knows? All right, so Rebels retreat because they don't want to subject themselves to the TIE fighter card. And then, but they leave the troops. So, again, trying to finish off this last ATST for Crippling Blow. And right away, you can see Rebels are going to be dropping some decent combat cards. So, tow cables and the 2 red damage card. Which I think there's no Vanguard there, so just 1. But making sure to wipe the ATST, making sure to score Crippling Blow. If you're Rebels, obviously you can't win without scoring objectives, so that's what you got to try to do. Your starting fleet has got to score objectives, otherwise don't stick it out there. You can put it out there if you don't have the objectives you want right away, but you should absolutely be looking to do that. All right, so battle is over. Got 3 Rebel troops left under a swarm of TIE fighters. Got the Rebel fleet kind of split up a little bit, and Crippling Blow is scored. All right, on the Empire here. And again, it was important for Rebels to attack first, obviously, because otherwise the Empire could trigger that attack, and that wouldn't have been great for the Rebels. So moving off to Utapau, likely with a rule by fear to follow. But we're going to try a build alliance, and we're going to try it in Utapau. And it succeeds at the expense of R2-D2. Okay, so R2 is out now, but what that does is it prevents the Empire from just simply ruling by fear and having an automatic roll. Although, with R2 being gone, might be worth it. Alright, what do we have going on next? One thing to think about when you're Empire is if you've got a guy on rule by fear, you should always try to have a backup plan. If rule by fear and they pull off a capture with Leia here, if your intent is to rule by fear in Utapau, but you also can move to either Corellia or a Mon Cal, gets you some pretty decent options here. All right, so Leia is now hanging out, able to block, and another backup plan, which is what the Empire pulled off here, is dropping Vader down for a capture. Now they can rule by fear up in Utapau, and Leia cannot block because she's captured. All right, what do we got going on here? We have a public uprising. Gonna take out another assault carrier here. The Rebs have got a Nebulon, a Y-Wing, so here's where the Y-Wing card's going to drop in, probably. X-Wing. Going to strand these troops down here. 1 damage back on a Y-Wing. Nope, 1 damage on the X-Wing, I guess. And again, I should have included the dice rolls in here. So too many things to film and keep track of. But this is our little zoom feature here that we're trying out for this battle. All right, assault carrier is down. X-wing is down. Imperial troops are stranded, and we've got a tiny rebel fleet over Celeste. And then for a moment, Grant was debating on, do I retreat to Bespin or not? More important to keep the blockade up there, I think. So right now, rebels are basically representing they're in Ryloth, Tatooine, Endor, Hoth, bluffing one of the two, obviously. Or maybe just trying to pull the Empire over in that direction in general. All right, so we got the Rule by Fear. Rule by Fear went off in Utapau, so captured Leia cannot block. So again, capture Rule by Fear is sometimes a good combo if you think there's going to be Leia walking around or R2. And then we are indeed out in Corellia to prep for that Star Destroyer. Turn 4 is a really important build turn for the Empire. So trying to prep for turn 4 is really important. A little bit less stress because the rebels don't have a cruiser and a Nebulon coming down the path, but still a good idea to do. Okay, Death Star move. You can see Cookie's walking the Death Star out towards the east to try to make up for missing assault carriers because he's got nothing to cover that section now. Grant pulls a heist and a whatever that card is that kills assault carriers. They should just rename it to card that kills assault carriers. Cookie pulls stripping loyalty and a secret mission. He's got a Death Star plans. He's got planetary assault. Pulled a construct factory from his project card. He's got a lot of fun cards here to use. All right, so what do we got for probes? Cookie pulls Hoth, which is a great pull. Obviously, could still be an Endor. Also pulls Kessel. Kessel's a nice card to pull because, it's not a super common pick for a Rebel base, but it's also an annoying planet to have to check. Like, you'd much rather go to Toydaria here than Kessel, both for the build and also to kill the Rebel troops and get your TIE fighters back, so pulling Kessel's nice because then you don't have to go to Toydaria and Kessel, right? Keep in mind, Grant's got the base deck, so at some point we can see plant false leads pop up, so you can't leave too much unchecked. One thing I want you guys to pay attention to with how Cookie's playing here, keep an eye on his Star Destroyer packs. So sometimes as Empire, and I'm super guilty of doing this, sometimes as Empire, you will end up tucking your Star Destroyer in a corner because you want to check Ryloth or go to Moncal or check Ilum or check Dantooine or whatever. And then it just kind of gets stuck there because you don't want to go backwards. Moncal's a great example of that. So just, I want you guys to watch what Cookie's doing with his fleets here because I think there's some things to be learned. All right, tag on Construct Factory. He's going to try to clear up Celeste. And we're early enough where you can see Grant doesn't have any level 2 objectives, so don't need to worry about a gold leader blowing up a Y-wing here. Grant starts by freeing Leia with a daring rescue, and here Vader's going to get an opportunity to use his card and capture Lando. I'm sure that Cookie rather would have done that before he played his action card, but I always like capturing Lando. Lando can be especially annoying because even if you draft Obi-Wan with Undercover, Lando can still use that card too, and he's adding an extra dice to block can be a thing. All right, so we are now, I like how I say we, Rule by Fear out in Utapau. So now, again, if you look at Imperial backdrop on turn 3, Loyal Corellia, Loyal Utapau, Star Destroyer next to Moncal. So we've got lots of ability to build Imperial ships, and Rebels are kind of in a tight spot. No Moncal. They did use their public uprising on generating some ships, but with no leader to drop in there, these ships are toast. So then right now Public Uprising was used to block deployment in Celeste for a turn. And then I think they're going to wipe a couple of ties here. Don't remember what happens. Oh no. In fact, we're just going to roll three blanks. So sorry that happened, Grant. No ties, dead. Giant pile of party in Celeste. Still got loyal Ryloth. Still got loyal Bothui. So Grant's got, he's got an opportunity to go ground game here. Now, what do I mean by that? If you are playing Rebels and you're finding yourself down on ships, right? So Grant's trying to play catch up here by building Alliance and Alistair. But then right away we follow up with a planetary conquest to subjugate that again. Grant's now going to drop a sabotage in Ord. Okay, but if you look at the board and you look at the ships in general, outside of having some starfighters, the Rebels are in a tough spot with Navy battles here. I mean, there's lots of Star Destroyers on the map. There's one Carillion corvette. There's no Nebula, no Moncals on the queue. So I think, and to be fair, this is something I don't do very well as Rebels either. So sorry, Grant, not trying to judge. I think that what you want to do here is turtle. That's what, when I play against Rebellion player or Rebel players, that's a lot of the times what I'll run into is if I have Star Destroyers, I'll run into a Rebel turtle. So emphasis on sabotaging, things that build AT-ATs, things that build AT-STs, emphasis on building an alliance in places like Bespin, or, he's got Bothui already to generate speeders. If you can prevent the Empire from building mechs and you can build speeders of your own, you can build a pretty good base, draw base defenses, and just kind of hope that by the time the Empire gets something over your base, that number one, it's not a Death Star, and number two, Anyway, you get the idea. And here's Obi-Wan Kenobi popping in for hello. He is on undercover. That's that card that also makes the Lando useful again if he gets uncaptured here. We got some Rebels deploying here. So we got a speeder in the base, so I like that move. I think there's going to be a Vanguard in the base too, if I remember right. Yes, Vanguard in the base, and then a couple of troops. Yeah, put a U-Wing out in Ryloth with that other troop threatened to score some stuff, or I guess maybe a Y-Wing. All right. And then Grant probably needs to find a way to get a Nebulon back to the base as well, so he can make a Death Star run is probably a decent plan. Cookie doesn't have too much to deploy here, but there's those Star Destroyers on the queue that we were talking about. So he's got 2 assault carriers plopped on the queue, 2 Star Destroyers plopped on the queue. He's got a dominant air presence at the moment. So he's deploying his mechs out in Utapau. Let's take a look at the probe map here. So what got pulled? Endor got pulled. That's really backbreaking for Grant. I think he was bluffing that sector pretty hard. So if you're Cookie, what are you thinking? You're thinking maybe Ilum, Dantooine, the remotes out on the west side, possibly Moncal if it was if it was intended to try to snipe a leader early on, maybe Nal Hutta, maybe Tatooine, or Grant could be cheekily trying to pull off a Alistair move. In one of the last tournaments we did, I ended up picking Cato as a base, and ended up with that being the last planet that the Rebels checked. So maybe he's going for that. All right, Rebels opening for infiltrate. Let's take a look. He's got raid outposts and Heart of the Empire here. He's going to end up putting raid outposts on top, and we'll talk about that here in a minute too. We've also got support of the Hutts, cut supply lines and regional aid for Grant as well. And here we go, moving around. Yep. So Geonosis, so we'll cover Geonosis. And what the probe map's going to do here is we're going to kind of cut in and out of the probe map so we can go back and forth between, between objectives and probes and whatnot. We'll see if I can find a good sweet spot here. And now we're doing a covert objective, or a covert operation, right? So now he's got the choice between Death Star plans and raid outposts. So raid outposts is nice if you have Hidden Fleet, or if you have Recon's card, because you can literally get a point just by, dropping a, especially if the Empire is not on remote planets. That's why as Empire, sometimes I like to move to remotes fairly early, just because I hate raid outposts. But yeah, in this instance, Grant ends up picking the Death Star plans. So we've got Heart of the Empire at the bottom. We've got Death Star plans in hand, and now we have raid outposts at the bottom of the deck too. All right, what are we up to here, Rebs? Sabotaging, going after cut supply lines here. So anytime the Empire leaves a single stormtrooper behind, it's always nice, with no way to move them off the location, it's always nice to sabotage that, because basically it just sits there forever. He could have done that in Alistair as well, would have been another decent target. But he's working on cut supply lines. If you were not working on cut supply lines and you were trying to just prevent the Empire from building, building mechs, building ATSTs, probably Seleucami would have been a good target, except for they can just vacate Seleucami just with a single leader move there. So I think it was probably a pretty good spot. And then here we go, building in Bespin, making a attempt to try to get some rebel speeders on the board or in the map. You can see in his base right now he's already got 3 speeders and a pair of vanguards, so he's got a lot of firepower in the base as is. All right, Empire is trying to secure the plans. We block. Looks like it's blocked with Obi-Wan, and Lando is moved over, or maybe just Obi-Wan. Anyway, long story short, Krennic with the +2 pulls it off, and the plans are now secured in Ilum, which is also unfortunate because we just pulled Death Star plans for objective there. And doing a rapid. Okay, let's see what probes we pull here. We are pulling... Oh, no, we're not pulling anything. We're trying to think what we need to subjugate. So again, take a look at the probe map. It looks like Cookie's going for trying to get that little rebel fleet under control. He's got to do that by moving the Star Destroyer out to Toydaria. He's going to wipe these troops here. He's going to block some hits. And then make a play on the Y-Wing Corvette transport group he's got out there. If you don't have a Nebulon to go after the Death Star, a transport's not a bad second thing to send in with a bunch of X-Wings. So if both because it can block black hits and can also block directs, depending on what's on the Death Star. If it's pretty much by itself, sometimes blocking that direct is nice too. So transports can be useful even if you're not moving around ground people just because of their combat card. All right, we got 1 ATST, 1 Stormtrooper. Cookie has flipped the combat, which gives his trooper a decent chance of healing if it's hit here. And then it does. And now we've got a Imperial presence back in Toydaria. So what does Grant need to do here? Grant needs loyalty. So he's got Bespin Alistair right now for regional aid. That seems pretty good, especially since there's no rule by fear. And we just grabbed a gather intel for 2 probes. So covering Alistair with the Death Star. Now he does not go to Bespin because he's got Endor and Hoth in the deck already. And so by centralizing the Death Star there, he's both checking Alistair, and then he's also near Cato, Kashyyyk, Tatooine, Rhodia, kind of Ryloth. So just centralizing his forces a little bit. And then regional aid was scored, and Rebel Cell was drawn. Okay, now Rebel Cell, where do we go with Rebel Cell? If we drop it in Bothawi, it's a tough pull for Grant, because if he had seen it with either Covert Ops or or infiltrate, he could have prepped for it a little bit better. So he drops it in Bespin, which I think is best chance here. Now Cookie can deploy in Alistair, but we do have a hit and run to deal with that. So I think Bespin's a great choice there. He drops base defenses, and I don't know how I feel about that. Grant's sitting on a lot of good cards. Maybe discarding a hidden fleet would have been a better move there. I'm not sure. Really don't know. And again, here I am judging. I'm a terrible Rebel player, so I would just generally go with whatever Grant's doing is probably the right move. All right. So Cookie does deploy in Mustafar, so we can expect a hit and run early with Grant there. Might be worth keeping Boba Fett or Vader back to block that. Rebel Cell's pretty annoying, especially if you've already played your planetary assault. Yep. So what do we have left? So we pulled Ryloth for probes, and what else? Looks like Ryloth and Ilum and Dantooine. Yep, Ilum Dantooine came with the Gather Intel. Got Ryloth. Yeah, so a couple of places left. Moncal, Yavin, Dathomir, Tatooine, Kashyyyk, Cato, and Dagobah. So we've got Grant planning a hit and run, a heist, kind of getting all those good rebel objectives out. He's got a rapid planned as well. He's got to try to get an idea of where he'll be able to move the base to, because there's a fairly decent Imperial presence around most of the board here. Depending on what Cookie does with that Star Destroyer right now, Dathomir is the ideal spot, or Yavin, I think, if the base happens to be there. All right, hit and run. Gonna strip that Carrier of Life and see if Cookie decides to block that. And yep, there will be a block, but Chewbacca pushes it through, I believe. Boba rolls a 1, Chewie rolls 3. Yep, Carrier down. I should also point out that, yeah, we'll see. I'll just let the game, up there it is. All right. So Krennic had a secret facility on Bespin. So that was a, lucky play by, or good pick by Cookie to drop it there. I mean, obviously, I think his original goal was not to hedge against Rebel Cell, but maybe it was. I mean, he'll have to comment. Cookie, if you're watching this, go ahead and comment and let me know if your plan was to guard against Rebel Cell or whether or not it was to get to build production there, because that was part of the reason why he felt comfortable moving away from Bespin last turn off to Alistair. So yeah, if Rebel Cell was a thought, that was a genius move. All right, Emperor in Lando, captured Lando and Emperor off to Tatooine, and lo and behold, it is the Rebel base. All right, what do we got? We got an AT-AT, ATST, got a TIE Striker up there, so we got to watch out for cancel cards. 3 speeders, not quite what Grant wanted there. I'm sure he probably wanted another 1 or 2 if he could have pulled it off. We got a decent starfighter presence, so a lot of it's just going to depend on how everybody rolls here. Rebels will win the ground for sure. I don't see a way they lose that. Now, one thing to think about is Tow Cables has already been played, and the Vanguard card has already been played to score Crippling Blow. The Y-Wing card has been played, and the Corvette card has been played. So Rebels are kind of lacking on good combat cards right now. They do play the Transport card to block hits. Cookie drops the Reverse Combat card here. That's probably a good move for Cookie. That'll force the Rebels to play the Nebulon card next turn. But there's also no frigate anywhere on the board either. Grant rolls good hits over here. So drops 3 on the Carrier, 2 on the Striker. Okay, Cookie with the Reverse. 1 heal for a striker doesn't do a whole lot of good. 2 directs, one of those is going to be blocked. 1 black hit, one of those is going to be blocked. So he's got his rerolls. He's going to might as well reroll the black because that's not going to do him any good. Yep. And he does have track them, but probably not going to be super useful here. Yep. Okay, so discarding those 2 direct hits. He's gonna. So you could take out the Corvette here. That seems like a nice one to pick up, but sometimes you want to take the extra time and look at what's left, right? So with 2 damage here, he can take out 2 Y-Wings, which are 2 red dice. If he takes out the Corvette, he's only taking out a black and a red. And granted, the Corvette in a bubble might be a little bit more powerful, but the black dice isn't really a threat to the Star Destroyer that's remaining, and the Star Destroyer rolls more red than black, so he's going to want to try to keep the reds up for targets and just work on the black guys. So that's why he went for the Y-Wings there. All right, he's dropping the AT-AT card to damage a speeder. Cookie's goal here is just to do damage on things, right? He's not planning on winning this. Confrontation, maybe that card, maybe save it, I don't know. He drops the transport card next and thinks about whether or not he wants to pull a retreat and cancel the AT-AT card or not. He decides to just cancel the next card instead. I think that's the right move there. And again, Rebels are kind of out of fancy combat cards. That's one of the Rebels' big advantages is nice combat cards. So he's in a little bit of a tight spot here. 1, 2, 3 red damage. That's enough to kill 2 speeders even. No sense in overkilling. You're just trying to get lucky here and wipe as much as you can. No black hits. That's too bad for Cookie. A lot of black hits, but not a lot of red hits, which is what Grant needs there. And then since he's only got 1 reroll, do 1 on the ATST, second one coming in here. So take a look at the combat cards Cookie has left. He's got the Stormtrooper card to do a black damage next turn, and then after that he can force feed with either playing the no heal card, which or redrawing into a card of his choice. Whereas Grant has a flip the combat card, which doesn't do him a lot of good, and a no heal card, which does a little bit of good. All right. So what do we have going on here? So Grant has block red hits. He's got the U-Wing card to deploy. He's got the X-Wing card. He's got the ion cannon. Or he's got the flip the combat back, which is what he needs to do. And then Cookie's just going to do damage. I might have played the TIE Fighter card there and done black damage instead of red damage, but he played Tractor Beam. Seems fine. He's got 2 damage on the Corvette and 1 on a Starfighter. Starfighter heals. The black hits do no useful things, and then 1 red damage on the Star Destroyer. So the Star Destroyer is going to have 2 so far. And with the reroll, yep. I think he could have rerolled another black, come to think of it. Whatever. All right. So no card for Cookie this round, so that's nice. Grant can play no heal to prevent that AT-ST from healing, so that's good too. Can do some damage here. He's got to do damage here. We got 2 greens, 2 reds, handful of blacks. Like we gotta wipe these Rebs. Let's see how we do. Yep. Okay. Speeders are damaged. You can see we're not overkilling anything here, just kind of equal damage on everything. 1, 2, 3 crits. 1 reroll for Leia. Speeders are down. Vanguard is down. Reroll didn't hit. Got the AT-AT. We've got the AT-ST left with 1 speeder, 1 Vanguard, and 2 troops. And a Star Destroyer against a U-Wing and a couple of X-Wings. So again, it's a great move killing those Y-Wings, man. That pretty tough. Oh, nope, I guess that
checking the chat here. It looks like that last speeder was actually killed too. Yep. All right. Fair enough. So we can play TIE Fighter card. He could also block red hits. No, he couldn't block red hits. I might play... Yeah, I'd probably just do the damage here. You could play the no heal card, but the idea behind no heal is you would still need to roll a black hit to damage an X-Wing, so you might as well just roll it. Or make them roll heals. And the only thing that's really a threat to the Star Destroyer at this point is that U-Wing. And then Grant plays the U-Wing card, has to make a decision on whether or not to prevent the Star Destroyer from being able to heal or deploying another troop. He chooses to deploy a troop. I think that's a great move. We've got a dead transport and 2 damaged starfighters over here. Grant needs Yahtzee. That's pretty good. Got 1, 2 hits on the Star Destroyer. All right, Star Destroyer's down to 3. Man, maybe should have saved that no heal. Who knows? Oh no, I guess yeah. We got 1 X-Wing left. Grant overkilled there. I think they end up correcting that. All right, we got planetary shield. That's not going to do anything for the rebels this turn. But the ATST is almost dead, and they have an extra Vanguard down there. So Imperials did some serious damage on that base, and sometimes that's just how these battles go. So we got 1 damage on a Vanguard. ATST is going to try to roll hits here. 2 rerolls. Nothing useful. ATST's dead. Confrontation, if he had saved it, maybe could have confronted the Emperor there. No Return of the Jedi in hand, but yeah, maybe. And then Cookie's got to make a decision on whether or not to stay. Now, chance of X-Wing rolling a crit, pretty low. It's not 0, though. So he makes the decision to stay, even though he doesn't have a way to directly damage the X-Wing outside of a roll. So he does have rerolls with the Emperor. He does roll a heal. He does roll a crit. X-Wing's damaged. X-Wing cannot kill the Star Destroyer because of the heal that was rolled. All right, so we got a blockaded rebel base by a captured Lando and an Emperor. We got a handful of desperate rebel troops in Tatooine, and we have a rapid mobilization on the way too. Now, forcing Grant to play the hit and run first ended up being nice because he had some more capable leaders for rerolls on rapid, and I think if he didn't have to play hit and run first to try to protect Bespin, I think he might have rapided first. So we'll see. All right, we're heisting the Death Star plans here. There's no Rebel starfighters left, but Rebels are in a tight spot. They need to find a way to score objectives. So I think that's probably fair enough. And then we got Bespin over here for a sabotage, kills the shield bunker. And what do we got coming up next? Yep, secret mission, draw a super and a super laser, and then Mothma's on a hidden fleet. So you can see Grant's idea here. What was his idea, right? His idea was to pull a rapid hidden fleet to a location where he was planning on rapiding to, and then reestablishing the rebel base from there. I don't know what location that was off the top of my head. I'll have to ask Grant, or if he comments below, feel free to let me know where you were hoping to rapid to. I didn't pay close enough attention to the early probes you drew. All right, what else we got going on here? So we had a blocked Fear Will Keep Them in Line by Tarkin, so gives Rebels a chance there. So yeah, here we go. Dathomir, Dagobah, Yavin, Cato, Toydaria. So he could have, in theory, if that combat had gone his way, or if he had gotten the Star Destroyer, or however it worked out. If the space combat had gone Grant's way, he could have relocated to, say, Dagobah or Dathomir or wherever. But he does move the base. He can't stay in Tatooine. We've got a AT in Bothawi. We have deployment capability in Geonosis. We have assault carriers that are ready to be deployed. So he does move the base. So Cookie is now just going to spread out. What does he need to cover? He's got to cover Dathomir. He's got to cover Kashyyyk. He's got to cover Dagobah. So he's got one Star Destroyer in Alistair. He's got another Star Destroyer in Megiddo. And he's got the Death Star sitting out there in Alistair. So he can get all those sections covered. Let's see where we go from here then. All right, so deployment is done. Going to progress over to assignment phase. I skipped a battle with Soontir in Ryloth. Soontir raids that Ryloth location on there. Cookie's likely hedging against Raid Factory. And then we've got a Incite Rebellion in Mustafar. And note that Wedge and Leia are on that together. Okay, so we should expect 1 in a million to be dropped here. So we've got tow cables out. We've got 2 ATSTs to kill here. So could be representing that he's in Dagobah. Could be trying to free up just other movements. Cookie plays no card next turn. Oh, actually, he plays that card as a cancel, which is not actually... I don't think that's allowed as a second card. All right, well, details. So 1 in a million pops up to kill 1 ATST, right? Uses that to, instead of re-rolling, because he's only got 1 re-roll, so he's got to use it first, and then do that damage on the ATST. So he's got to kill this group here. So representing he's on Dagobah, needs to be able to prevent that ATST from landing on the base. He's got 2 troops in the base right now. So we're going to go ahead and bombard from the Imperial side, blocking a hit for... Yep, we got 2 heals. Okay, troops are still in the game here. And then ATST 1 and 1. And then he's got a block here. And that blocks that. So I think all in all, we probably would have ended up in the same place, even if the cancel card was done differently. I have to double check that rule, but I think a second card played cannot be a cancel card, or if it is, you can't use that ability. So he would have just prevented the black hits card from being played. Second round would have ended up around the same, I think. Okay, so no card next turn for the Empire. We got to do damage here as the Rebels. 1 reroll, 1 hit. That's nice. ATST, 1 more hit. Wipe both troops. ATST is alive. That's not great. And then we have a follow-up move with... I think we have a follow-up move into Dagobah. Yep, we do. All right. So we've got now 1 ATST, 1... Striker? Nope, Striker stays behind because the cancel card's already been played. So we have an ATST and a Star Destroyer in Dagobah. And the Empire has a move here where if the first round of combat doesn't finish everything, the Star Destroyer can retreat to Celeste, and then there's a nice backup force there. So ATST cards played. We have 2 damage done, 1 to each rebel. We've got a overkill here, so the troop is being overkilled. Grant needs Yahtzee here. He needs 1 block and 1 crit. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got a block and we've got a heal and a crit. So Vanguard is healed. Crit kills the ATST. The Star Destroyer cannot retreat. We have lived another day. All right, take a look. We've got Mothma, Chewie, Riken, whoever, and what to play here. Now, as rebels, you have to be thinking about what could the Empire be on, right? We've got Fed on a mission. We've got Krennic on a mission. We've got everybody on a mission. We got plant false leads by the rebels. So let's see what the rebels pull up on plant false leads. Every Imperial player's favorite card. Got Hoth, Bespin, Ilum, Alistair. So Hoth is an available place to rapid 2. So there's what Grant's going to do is he's going to hedge against gather intel, right? So he's going to put them all on top because he's going to draw them all anyway, and he wants to go to Hoth. Now the critical piece here is take a look at what Boba Fett's on. Hunt them down, right? And where's Chewbacca? Chewbacca's sitting on a sabotage up there. Sabotage. Had Chewie not been on a sabotage, he could have played his card, canceled the hunt them down. The hunt them down pulls through here and does it. But if Chewie was either on subversion or if Chewie was back and just canceled that hunt them down out, then the rapid could pull through and Grant could be in Hoth. I know it seems like he was down pretty far here, but, moving to Hoth, that's another 1, 2, 3 turns for the Empire to get there. Rebels could have gotten a couple of troops in there. Could have been a real interesting screamer there at the end. He had a little bit of work to go to get support of the Hutts. But anyway, that wraps up the first ever Wombat Invitational. Thank you to Easy, Grant, and Cookie for playing. Congrats on Cookie on winning the gold. I think that's probably what most people were expecting in the first place. Everybody was a great sport. We had a good time. I hope to do another one of these here pretty soon. So we will see. A lot of effort. Let me know in the comments if you like the new probe map or what you did or didn't like about this in general. And I will look forward to getting something else going here shortly. So thanks so much for watching. If you haven't, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.